What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. In this video, we're breaking down how to set a volleyball with tempo. Let's get right into it. Before we break down any film today, let's talk about why tempo is important. I know some offenses might rely solely on high ball, which is the opposite of running a tempo offense. It's every ball is super high, so you might see a 4-ball, you might be calling a 4-ball with your setter or something like that, or just calling high, high, high. So basically all your sets to your pins are going to be high, and then anything you run to your middle is going to be a 2-ball, if not something slower than that. But why tempo? There's 3 reasons that I identified for why tempo is important, and you see this at the next level, and the further you go up, you'll see when teams are in system that they're using a lot of this. The first reason is one-on-ones. I've said this before, and I will continue to say it again. Your goal as a setter is to set a hittable ball, but that 1B objective as a setter is to get one-on-ones, and the best way to do that is to set with tempo, incorporate speed into your offense, and find a way to get those one-on-ones because they're crucial, they're critical, and they are your attacker's best friend for siding out quickly. So that's number 1. Number 2, when you set with tempo, it's really tough as a blocker to sequence the whole play. There's not the time to see ball setter, ball hitter. Sometimes you just have to run to your man. That's why you see at the higher levels a lot of the pin blockers just going immediately to their responsibility because there's not enough time. These setters are dishing the ball out with lots of speed. And when you do that, you leave yourself vulnerable to not following the attacker's angle of approach, which makes it a lot harder to block, quite frankly. One-on-ones is good for attacking. It's also disruptive for blockers because it's hard for them to sequence the play because the play is coming at 100 miles an hour, so it's naturally more difficult. The third principle on why tempo is because you get to dictate the game. As a setter, you're in control of the offense, so you communicate what speed you want your hitters to run. It could be one tempo, it could be negative tempo, it could be as fast or as slow as you want. But if you're running fast and your hitters know you're running fast, then that's one advantage you have over the blockers because you can coordinate, you can run different routes, and as long as you both are on the same page and you set them a hittable ball, more often than not, you're going to be in good spots and earning points. So those are my 3 reasons, and now let's get into some film. The first clip we will look at is from our match this year against Rutgers Newark at home. And you can see right off the bat, we get a jump serve to our libero, who passes a 3 right to Joe. And he's in prime position. We're in rotation 1 here, so he's a back row hitter. And we have our outside Devin coming to swing on the right. But he gets this ball, sets his feet, and pushes this ball out to the pin. And we get a kill off of it. Now that's the sped up version, that's the tempo version, but let's break it down a little bit. First thing I want to identify here is ball trajectory. So what is tempo? Tempo is speed, and to set with speed, you need to find a good trajectory for your ball so it is landing at the right point so your hitters can hit it with optimal speed and optimal pace. So kind of what is that trajectory? So you can see here, there's a slight dip in this ball from Joe. It's not super flat. He's not running an extreme shoot here. This is just a go ball with good tempo, which gives Diego all his options, gives him the open line because his blocker's late, and he takes it. So by setting quick here, Joe takes this middle out completely from the play, so it's a one-on-one like we talked about. and we'll take those all night long. Diego is an all-conference player for us. Anytime you can get a player like that in a one-on-one situation, we think he's going to side out most of those times. So Joe holding the middle here and then pushing that ball out with pace. Perfect execution. The next play we'll look at here is from our match against Southern Virginia, and this time we're going to highlight the opposing setter, Tyler Sheaffer, do a really good job setting the middle with speed. If you look at the trajectory on this set, he's running a gap or a 31 here. They're in row 4, so Tyler's front row, and you see their middle is on a 3-step approach here, and he is on his 3rd step by the time Tyler releases this ball, so that leaves him in the air ahead of Mason, giving him the advantage of seeing where his block will be, and then he turns his ball back right into Diego's shoulder and blows him up a little bit. But back to the tempo set here. Tyler does a good job of tracking this ball, seeing his hitter. He takes that little peek, as you can see, and then turning those hips and firing with a pretty good pace set, and that's pretty flawless. Not a lot of guys can do that. This is an All-American player, and for good reason. When you're setting up your players like that, this won't be the last set we show of Mr. Sheaffer, but wanted to point that out. All the moving parts that have to go right for this to be done well. Your middle has to be up and on time, so ideally on that 3rd or 4th step on contact, if not even up in the air if you're really a jumpy kid. And then just being able to see that block early gives you such an advantage to put the ball away. And they do that here. So well done by the Knights. All right, as we look at this next clip, it is another example of Tyler Sheaffer connecting with his brother Christian, who were 2 All-American players and 2 dominant players in the CBC. And this is what happens when you get a free ball. So we free ball this ball over, and you can see this slight look that he gives him. Very slight here. Very slight. He gives a look here. Bang. So he knows he's there. He knows where the blockers are going to be. And then this is a really well-paced set where Christian is on his 4th step on contact and in the air before the block. And you're going to take your chances with that all day. Will makes a good play on this ball, but with the speed that hit is coming at, it's really tough to defend. But back to the set here, looking at this trajectory, the key here is it leaves his hand as quickly as it comes into his hand. So one thing I see a lot from setters that kind of struggle with tempo or struggle with their location is it's really slow in the hands or really low. The quicker you can get that ball in and out when you're trying to set with speed, the better. And generally, the higher, the better. He catches this one a little low, which I don't love, but I mean, the location is perfect and he has a really good connection with his brother, being his brother, so he knows exactly where to put it for him to be successful. They get a little bit of a pass there, but that's a great set, and if you're running that all day, look at these blockers. No time to help. Mason's in the air from a good route from SVU's middle, and that's tough to stop. That's very tough to stop. Pulling a clip here from last year in our match against Lancaster Bible, Grayson was our setter at the time, and I think he did a great job of setting consistently from a high contact point using his hands. Quick setting is so much about quick hands and quick wrists, and I'll try and break it down in this video as we get a pretty much perfect free ball from Will, free ball pass from Will, and you see jump set, up, high contact, hands, and in and out of his hands with great trajectory here. A slight dip, but right where Esteban needs it to chop this ball down the line and get an easy kill. Now the basis I usually like to go for as a setter when targeting is having this ball descend into the second red or white on the antenna. So you don't want this ball to be flat across the antenna, or else there's no way for that hitter to get on top of the ball. You want there to be a little bit of a dip, and you can see this ball has a very slight dip to give Esteban a chance to get on top of it. Because if it's flat or elevating, it's really tough to get on top. But if it is right about that descent at the second or third red on the antenna, generally for most hitters that's going to be their sweet spot. Now if you have an outside that's 6'10" or TJ DeFalco out there, that might be a different ball, but I would say most of the time that's the target that we are telling our setters to hit, and that's going to give you a lot of success for outsides going down the line or turning that ball into the angle. Speaking of some of the best setters in the world, look at Micah Christenson here. A tempo ball to DeFalco, freezes the middle, gets a one-on-one, and allows TJ to rip at this ball and get an easy kill. Now this route for him is coming a little bit inside, so that's probably something they communicated pre-serve, but high contact, using a lot of hands, and that is smooth and gives TJ all the open air space to hit a really hard ball into this angle, making it tough on Poland here. You see this at the highest levels. You see it at Division 3, you see it at Division 1. Everyone is using tempo. If you're not finding a way to incorporate it into your game, you're missing out. So practice it. It's allowed a lot of reps. One thing we see a lot in the college game is setting to the setter net, which is, some people call it a setter net, some people call it a target trainer, but it's basically a target where you are trying to aim your sets at. And it catches the ball for you, and it's really just a good visual to get in the good habit of location with speed. And you can slow it down if you want to as well, but it really gets you in that repetition, in that good repetition of dialing in your speed. Now, if you can't afford a gym to practice in, or if you can't afford a target trainer, then just put some tape on the wall, map out that space that you would typically be setting from, and practice pushing that ball to the pin with good trajectory and good tempo, and that's going to be a really good drill for you to practice and better your setting skills. There's no excuse. You can set against anything, and you're going to get good feedback on how you're doing, and it's only going to help your game. So last little video here for you guys, and this is touching on the right side. I know we hit on middle a little bit, hit on outside. Let's not forget about our right side hitters. They are, I think, in the college game, one of the most important players on the team, because the D-ball is such a big outlet to be able to reverse the flow. But at any rate, here's a play against our match against MIT. You can see Devin's pass brings this ball to the middle of the court, which opens up Joe to reverse this flow back to Diego. Basically setting a go ball to the right side here. And he beats the block and puts it down the line for a demonstrative kill. Sometimes you'll hear the term red ball instead of go ball on the right side. That's just indicating basically a first tempo set on the right side. So it's essentially the same thing. And you'll see Diego's closing step and closing ability is really good here. So he's on his last step. He's on his last step a little late here, but ends up being perfect timing. Just as effective on the right side, really effective wherever you set, as long as you get your location right and you're in the same, and you're connected with your hitters. But setting with tempo, it's huge. It's huge. I'll say it again, I'm a firm believer in it. Will advance your team, will help you to beat blocks, beat bigger teams if you can connect well. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. More videos to come, and I'll see you in the next one. Season coming around the corner. Don't forget, Marymount, fall season. We're back, baby. Peace.